What have they done to my boy? They killed him. They changed the armor in Stalker 2 so that there are different reasons to use different armor, and also some armors are basically nerfed. So one of the major armor sets that you probably will notice that was nerfed is the PSZ Falcon. This sees a pretty significant reduction in the thermal, electrical, and chemical stats. The radiation is still relatively the same. The physical protection is still quite good. The psi protection is also decent. But mainly you're going to be seeing nerfs on combat-oriented armor in terms of thermal, electrical, chemical. And you're going to see slight nerfs, slight reworks on non-combat armor. So for example, the SSP-100 Discovery. As far as I can tell, its physical protection is still the same, but you can see the huge difference here in tanking. So if you want to run more all-purpose armor, the science armor is actually arguably the best, especially if you combine it with a compass. So this kind of makes this the new meta, basically. Even Diamond Exosuit was not safe from this, and we will go over that in a second. But for now, let's look at some of these suits. So let's look at the SSP-99, the Bulats, and the Cuirass. Now these are mostly fully upgraded. So the SSP-99, the radiation protection on it is pretty high. The base thermal, electrical, and chemical, when upgraded, are quite high as well. Now you can get the thermal higher at the cost of some other things, I believe. That's true for most of these sets. But look at how low the physical protection is by comparison. And also look at the psi protection. It's pretty good. 2.5 on an easy-to-get early game set is pretty decent, but obviously physical protection 1 is quite weak. For the Bulat, you still have huge tanking, and honestly the thermal, electrical, chemical are largely the same. I don't think this had psi protection anyways, but with the suppressor you get a little bit. Then the radiation reduction is about the same. For Cuirass Exoskeleton, I do believe we see a little bit of the major anomaly damage types reduced, so you don't see as much chemical, electrical, thermal, and the physical is still basically where it was at, as well as the weight. You still can't sprint in these as far as I know, so it's still like the non-sprinting early game exosuit that you can get without early Pripyat jump. The SSP-100 is still pretty good. Now, you can buy this from Veronica, I think that's her name is, not Veronica, Victoria in Malachite, and you can also get one with an early Pripyat jump. So this is now one of the better suits in the game because it gives you huge tanking on literally everything, and it has no downside at all, and when upgraded fully, you just have good tanking stats for literally every type of encounter, like anything you would encounter in the game. Now there is the downside of it doesn't increase carry weight, so there is a reason to run exosuits over these still, even though the elemental protection, if we want to think of it like that, is significantly lower. You still get huge carry weight capacity on most of the exos. You do usually have less psi protection. For the actual exoskeleton, we have that over here. This is known to have high psi protection. It still does, for the most part, having over 3 psi protection, so it's pretty competitive with some of these other suits. It actually outclasses the SSP-100 in psi protection as well as physical, but it still lacks thermal, electrical, and chemical. Now that can be nice just for artifact hunting and if you are careless and walk into anomalies a lot, but also consider there are anomalies that hit you with physical damage. So physical protection can reduce that damage, usually gravitational anomalies. Then we also have, let me equip that. Then we also have the SSP Circa. So this is very similar to the Discovery. It has similar tanking, a little bit better stats across the board, a little bit more, high end, if you want to look at it that way. But for the most part, a lot of the armor sets that are combat oriented have seen a reduction in their elemental protections and chemical, and a lot of the sets that are not kind of seem relatively unchanged. I can look at more armor sets, but from what I can tell based on all these maxed out sets, for the most part, it just seems that like certain exosuits were nerfed slightly, and everything is largely the same, with the big difference of thermal, electrical, chemical being spiked up on the non-exosuits to have them be a little bit more competitive with them. Let's look at some more suits that you might be concerned about. So we have the Corundum suit fully upgraded. For the most part, it seems like it has a reduction in the major categories we would expect. The physical protection is still quite good. The psi protection is respectable. The radiation protection is decent. For the Ruby exosuit, a noticeable decrease in thermal, electrical, chemical. Radiation is still quite good, being basically maxed out. Physical protection still quite good. Psi protection, I don't know if that was changed or not. I can't remember if it had high psi protection. I remember it having at least one. But psi protection is really not that big of a deal. You want some, but it doesn't really matter. Operator, I think it's a similar story, where we're just seeing a slight decrease, but for the most part, it's largely unchanged. For Diamond, so Diamond still is pretty good. I mean, it's still arguably one of the best suits. It still weighs almost nothing. It still gives you the most carry capacity. You can get stamina regen on it. This particular one does not have it. But the chemical, electrical, thermal is quite high. Radiation is maxed out. Physical protection basically maxed out. Psi protection significantly higher. So pretty solid still, largely unchanged. I would say Diamond is still basically the meta. Liberty is a good side grade to Diamond. Now you do have to get it from Pripyat, so obviously, you know, take that with a grain of salt. Whereas with Diamond, you can just get a box near the tornado, push it over. It takes like 2 minutes to do this, and then just hop on top of it and grab it at any time in the main game, like once you get into the larger region. The Stoom seems largely unchanged outside of the thermal, electrical, chemical. Brumbar, kind of the same story. I don't think this is upgraded fully, though, because its base value is quite low. And then for Siva V, fully upgraded, I think they did nerf its physical protection, but this might just be that it has low stats anyways. It does look like it's been nerfed a little bit. Assuming this is fully upgraded based on its coupon value, this does seem to be less physical protection than it usually has, and the chemical, thermal, electrical is kind of middling now, as well as the psi. But I think this was always kind of where its stats were at, even with upgrades, so definitely drop a comment as to what has changed on your suit if you've noticed it. These are some of the major endgame suits, like exoskeletons and armor suits you tend to run. But that is it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this useful. We also have channel membership if you want to support the channel. You do get emotes for whenever I stream, and I do plan on streaming Stalker soon, so we will be returning to that. But yeah, that's it for now. Peace.